The year was 1872, a time when the seas were both a pathway to opportunity and a realm of mystery. The Mary Celeste, a sturdy merchant brigantine, set sail from New York City. Its destination was Genoa, Italy. It was supposed to be a routine transatlantic voyage, one of many that the ship had undertaken. Captain Benjamin Briggs, experienced and respected, commanded the ship. His reputation as a capable and trustworthy captain was well known among his peers. He brought his wife Sarah and their young daughter Sophia along for the journey. It was not uncommon for captains to bring their families on long voyages, making the ship a temporary home. 7 professional crewmen completed the ship's complement. Each crew member was skilled and experienced, chosen carefully by Captain Briggs. The cargo consisted of 1,701 barrels of commercial alcohol, a valuable and volatile shipment that required careful handling. Nothing seemed amiss as the Mary Celeste embarked on what should have been an unremarkable journey. The weather was favourable and the ship was in excellent condition. The first few days of the voyage went smoothly. The crew performed their duties diligently and the ship sailed steadily across the Atlantic. The Atlantic, often unpredictable, remained calm. The clear skies and gentle waves were a welcome sight for the sailors. Captain Briggs, a devout man, likely spent time reading his Bible, a prized possession he carried everywhere. His faith was a source of strength and guidance during long voyages. Sarah, in her diary, probably chronicled daily life on board and the anticipation of reaching Italy. Her entries would have captured the mundane and the extraordinary moments of their journey. Little Sophia, with her toys and the ship as her playground, brought joy to the otherwise monotonous journey. Her laughter and playfulness were a bright spot for everyone on board. On December 5, 1872, the DEI Gracia, a British brigantine, spotted the Mary Celeste drifting aimlessly near the Azores Islands. The sight was unusual and immediately raised concerns. The ship seemed to be in good condition, its sails partially set, but there was no sign of life on deck. The eerie silence was unsettling. Captain David Morehouse of the DEI Gracia, familiar with the Mary Celeste and its captain, found this strange. He knew something was terribly wrong. He ordered a boarding party to investigate. The sailors prepared themselves for what they might find, unsure of what to expect. What they found would baffle the world for over a century. The ship was deserted, with no trace of the crew or passengers, leaving behind a mystery that endures to this day. The crew of the DI Gracia, approaching cautiously, prepared to board the seemingly abandoned Mary Celeste. The sight of the ship, adrift and silent, sent chills down their spines. The sea was calm, the sun high in the sky. It was a perfect day for sailing, yet the Mary Celeste floated aimlessly, an ominous presence on the serene waters. An eerie silence hung in the air, broken only by the lapping of waves against the hull. The usual sounds of a bustling ship were absent, adding to the growing sense of unease. The boarding party, led by the DI Gracia's first mate, cautiously stepped aboard. The deck was deserted, ropes lay coiled, untouched. It was as if the crew had vanished into thin air. A single hawser trailed in the water, evidence of recent activity. This small detail hinted that the abandonment had been sudden and unplanned. Moving carefully below deck, the boarding party found the ship's interior in disarray but strangely undisturbed. It was as if the crew had left in a hurry, yet nothing seemed to be missing. The galley was a mess, with scattered dishes and overturned chairs. It looked like a meal had been interrupted, but there was no sign of what had caused the sudden departure. Navigation equipment lay on the floor of the captain's cabin, charts strewn about as if someone had been consulting them in haste. The scene suggested a frantic attempt to navigate, but to where? Yet there was no sign of a struggle, no bloodstains, no weapons drawn. The mystery deepened with every step the boarding party took. The cargo hold, too, remained untouched. The valuable cargo of alcohol was still there, undisturbed and intact. The barrels of alcohol, valuable and easily liquidated, sat undisturbed. This ruled out piracy as a motive for the abandonment. The crew's quarters were equally perplexing. Personal items were left behind, as if the crew had expected to return at any moment. Personal belongings lay scattered about. pipes, tobacco, clothing. These items told a story of lives interrupted, of routines abruptly halted. In the captain's cabin, a sewing machine stood idle. A child's toy lay on the floor. These personal touches made the scene even more haunting. The chronometer, vital for navigation, was missing, as was the ship's sextant. The only lifeboat, gone. These missing items suggested a desperate attempt to escape. The boarding party, increasingly uneasy, searched every nook and cranny of the Mary Celeste. Each discovery only added to the enigma. The crew, Captain Briggs, his wife and child, all vanished without a trace. The fate of the Mary Celeste's crew remains one of the sea's greatest mysteries. The more the Dei Gratia's crew investigated, the deeper the mystery became. Each corner of the ship seemed to hold a secret, yet none revealed the fate of the missing crew. Food stores remained on board, enough for months. Fresh water was plentiful. It was clear that the crew had not left due to a lack of provisions. The ship's logbook, its last entry dated 10 days prior, provided no clues about the crew's disappearance. The entries were mundane, filled with routine nautical observations. It mentioned nothing unusual, only routine nautical observations. There were no signs of distress or any indication of an impending disaster. The ship's cargo, those 1,701 barrels of alcohol, remained intact. This was a significant detail, as it suggested that piracy was not the cause of the crew's disappearance. This detail would later fuel speculation about the crew's fate. Theories ranged from mutiny to supernatural occurrences, but none could be confirmed. The scene on the Mary Celeste was one of eerie abandonment. Yet there were no signs of violence or panic. Everything was in its place, as if the crew had simply vanished into thin air. The ship's hatches were open, unusual in open sea, but perhaps suggesting a hasty departure. This added another layer to the mystery, as it indicated that the crew might have left in a hurry. The single hawser trailing in the water hinted at a recent attempt to secure the ship, possibly to another vessel. This raised questions about whether another ship had been involved in the crew's disappearance, but why? And where had everyone gone? The unanswered questions hung heavily in the air, adding to the sense of unease. The boarding party, chilled by the emptiness of the ghost ship, returned to the Dei Gratia with more questions than answers. The silence of the Mary Celeste was haunting, leaving the men deeply unsettled. Captain Morehouse, hearing the report of his men, faced a difficult decision. The mystery of the Mary Celeste weighed heavily on his mind. Maritime law dictated that a salvaged ship, if successfully brought to port, entitled its salvors to a share of its value. This was a significant incentive, but the eerie circumstances made the decision more complex. The Mary Celeste, seemingly abandoned but otherwise sound, represented a significant prize. The ship was in good condition, making it a valuable find. Yet, the circumstances of its discovery troubled Morehouse. The unanswered questions and the eerie silence of the ship weighed on him. He decided to claim salvage rights and bring the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar, the nearest port, hoping to unravel the mystery of its missing crew. The journey to Gibraltar was filled with anticipation and unease as the crew of the Dei Gratia pondered the fate of the Mary Celeste's crew. Upon arriving in Gibraltar, the Mary Celeste became the center of a maritime inquiry. Officials were utterly baffled. The ship was deemed seaworthy. The cargo was completely untouched. The crew's belongings remained, suggesting a sudden and unexplained disappearance. The missing lifeboat, however, provided a crucial clue. It indicated that the crew, for reasons unknown, had abandoned ship deliberately. But why? Speculation ran rampant. Theories ranged from mutiny to piracy, from monstrous sea creatures to waterspouts. Some suggested that fumes from the alcohol cargo had driven the crew to madness, causing them to abandon ship in a delirious state. Others pointed to the strange behavior of the ship's compass, which was found to be inaccurate and misleading. Had the crew, disoriented and fearing the worst, fled in the lifeboat, only to be lost at sea forever? The inquiry, unable to determine a definitive cause for the crew's disappearance, ruled the case an unsolved mystery. The Mary Celeste, its ghostly reputation cemented, was eventually sold off and continued its life as a cargo ship. But its story, passed down through maritime lore, refused to die. The abandoned ship, frozen in time, became a symbol of the sea's enduring mysteries and the fragility of human life against the relentless forces of nature.